Today I'm going to show you how to make this bracelet I'm calling Pretty Pillars. Now I show you this one today on the video, how to make it, and this is with 4x8 elongated bicone crystals and 4mm rounds and seed beads. This one I decided because not everyone can get these elongated crystals. I do have them on my website and I will post a link for them. But you can also do this with a rice pearl. This is a 7x4, so it's 7mm long and 4mm wide, so it's very similar to this bead in shape and in size. It has a little bit of a wider look to it, but it works really well. So if you have some rice pearls in your stash, you can do that, and they're pretty easily had. I do have some of these too, just in plain white, like the ones I used, and I can post a link to those also. But let me go ahead and put these on, and I will show you what they look like. And this is what these look like on the wrist. They are quite stackable, and they make a really pretty holiday look. This one in particular, I could have gone red and then green and whatever. You could also use different colors of pearls if you want to. And this one with the elongated bicones is quite a bit sparklier. And I used an opaque imitation jade blue on this, but you could use a clear, you could use almost any color, and it would turn out really pretty. It's really sparkly, it looks really nice. I will make sure that there's a link for these beads if you want to get some. Otherwise, get some out of your stash, and let's look and see what we need for this project and get started. Okay, for this design today, we're going to be using 4x8 bicone crystals, and this is just an elongated bicone crystal. And then we'll be using some 4mm round crystal beads. This is a Chinese crystal, and it is opaque blue, half green. Then we'll be using 8/0, 11/0, and 15/0 seed beads. These are all Toho. They are galvanized aluminum permanent finish. Then we'll be using Nanofil. I'm using 10 pound. You can also use 8 pound. You want to stay with a very small thread. Nanofil is perfect. If you want to use Fireline, use 4 or 6 pound. I'm using a size 12 beading needle because we're going through these beads a lot and they're small beads. So size 12 is going to work much better than a size 10. So this is a size 12 English beading needle. I am also going to be using a lobster claw clasp and a closed jump ring for my closure on this bracelet. So this lobster claw clasp is 12mm long from loop end to the top and about 6mm wide, just so that you'll know for reference for your length of your bracelet. And this is about 8mm round. So put onto your needle about a wingspan of thread. A wingspan is when you spread your arms out from side to side, measure from your fingertips on your first arm, the length of that arm, across your chest, the length of the second arm, and to the fingertips on that second arm. That is a wingspan. You will probably need to expand your Fireline or Nanofil during this process, and if you do not know how, I have a video that I will post a link to in the description box beneath the video player to show you how to do that. And let's get started. Okay, to start this project, you're going to pick up an 11/0, an 8/0, an 11/0, and a 4mm round crystal, and then again an 11/0, an 8/0, an 11/0, and a 4mm round crystal. And this is what you should have on your needle, just like this. Now we're going to bring this down to the end of the thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, but a few inches so that you can tie a knot. Once you have brought this to the end of the thread, then we're going to go from the tail side back through all of the beads. So just go through all of the beads here, hold on to it, hold on to the tail, and pull your needle through. Draw the tail thread and the working thread together until you get a circle like this. And then just take the tail thread and the working thread and tie a single overhand knot just make sure it goes down between the beads and then pull it pretty tightly. Now we're going to sew back around through all of these beads just to make sure our first unit does not slip. So I'm coming out where the knot is, so I'm just going to go into the 11-0, 8-0, and 11-0, and then pull my thread through and just work my way all the way around this little unit. Then once I get through the crystal, I will go through an 11-0 and an 8-0 and exit that 8-0 right there. Pull this down. And now that we're coming out of this 8-0, we're going to put an embellishment on the top of this tiny unit. It's hard to hold on to right now, so if you hold on to your tail and the first 4mm round, you should be able to kind of handle it a little better. Pick up an 11-0, a 4mm round, and an 11-0. And we're going to go across to the opposite 8-0, and we are going to go into the same side that we're coming out of the 8-0 on this side. So we're coming out of the right hand side, we're going to go to the opposite 8-0 and go into the right hand side on this 8-0. And just the 8-0, just like that. Hold on to your piece and pull your thread through. Then just kind of push that series of beads on top of the little unit we created. Then we have to secure the other side, so we're going to pick up an 11-0 and go through the crystal again, right here. Put your finger and thumb together and pull your needle through. And give it a little tug once you get it through. And now we need to secure this side on the top of the unit here. So we're going to pick up another 11-0 and go through the opposite side of the 8-0 that we started in. And just the 8-0, just like that. Then we're going to pull the thread through. Put your thumb and finger together and just pull on that a little bit. And this is what you should have, just like this. To put our clasping on, we're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, a 4mm round, and then an 8-0. And I'm just going to drop those down to the little unit I created. And then I'm going to pick up the clasp and go through the loop on the clasp. And bring it down to that 8-0 right there. Now, let me back off just a little so I stay in frame here. Now I am just going to go into the 8-0 and the crystal. I'm going to pick this up, put it between my thumb and finger, and pull my thread through. And draw this down to our little unit here. Now I'm going to pick up one more 11-0 seed bead, and I'm going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 from which I started. So I'm going to go into this side and pull the 11-0 down. Now we're just going to sew back through this entire unit twice, just to secure our clasping. So you'll go up through the 11-0, the crystal, the 8-0, through the clasp, back down into the 8-0 and the crystal, the 11-0, and back through the 8-0. Do that twice and we'll be back. Okay, so now you can see I have secured twice, and I'm coming out of the 8-0 seed bead that we attached the clasping to. So I'll show you on the back so you can see. I'm coming out of that 8-0. I'm going to cut down this tail thread. I can burn the rest of it in later, but I just want it out of the way. And then I'm going to go through this 11-0 and the crystal and work my way down to the 8-0 at the bottom of the unit here. So just into this 8-0 right here and exit. Now we're going to make a little bit different type of unit, and we'll alternate. So we'll be making a unit like this, and then we'll be making a unit with the elongated bicones, and then another unit with the rounds. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a 15-0, we're going to pick up an 11-0, a 15-0, and then a bicone, and then a 15-0, 11-0, and 8-0. And then we're just going to reverse that and do it again. And I'll show you what I have on my needle when I'm finished here. Let me back off a little bit. Now I'm going to pick up another 11-0, a 15-0, a bicone, a 15-0, and an 11-0. I don't have to pick up an 8-0 because we're going to use the one on the unit. This is what I have on my needle. Let me get you close. So I have an 11-0, a 15-0, a bicone crystal, a 15-0, an 11-0, and an 8-0. An 11-0, 15-0, bicone, 15-0, and 11-0. Just like this. And then we're going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 we're coming out of. Here. And pull the needle through. And this is what you should have. We're just going to sew through this entire unit until we come back to the 8-0 we're exiting right now. So let's just go through all these beads. And then I'm just going to get into this 8-0 here. So just sew around, secure, and this is what you should have. And we're coming out of the 8-0 here. We're going to put an embellishment on top of this unit now. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, an elongated bicone, and an 11-0 seed bead, just like this. Then we're going to go into the opposite 8-0 seed bead, the one opposite from the one we're coming out of, and go into the same side from which we're coming out of the opposite bead. So you're coming out of the right side, you're going to go into the right side. And we're just going to pull this down. Draw it on top and give a little tug. And then pick up another 11-0 seed bead, go into the bicone crystal, exit, and pull your thread through. And give a little tug. Now you want these 11-0s to kind of come on top of the rest of the beads, and they'll do that better once we secure this side too. So pick up another 11-0 and go into the opposite side of the 8-0 we originally attached to. And pull. Now that will kind of gather this up and it'll be kind of cluster looking, just like this. Now we're coming out of the 8-0, so we need to go into the 11-0 and the 15-0 through the bicone and down into this 8-0 here to get started again. So just gently sew through these. You might distort them a little, but that's okay because you can pull them back into place as you go through the beads. Then we're just going to go down until we're coming out of this 8-0 seed bead right here. Pull through, give a little tug, and arrange your unit again because it will distort slightly. And then it'll gather up even more on the bottom here when we make the next unit. So now we need to make the first unit we made. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up an 11-0, and then we're going to pick up a 4mm round crystal, and then we're going to pick up an 11-0, an 8-0, and repeat. 11-0, 4mm round crystal, and 11-0. We have the 8-0 on the unit, so we have a complete 11-0, crystal, 11-0, 8-0, 11-0, crystal, 11-0. Then we're going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 that we're coming out of. Just like this, and pull it down. Now you're going to sew back through all of these beads until you come back into the 8-0 you're exiting right now. So just go into these beads. They're going to distort. That's okay. Just sew through them. If you sew through the 8-0 by itself, you'll get a little bit better shape, and then you can go into the 11-0s and the crystal on this side. Now back up into this 8-0 seed bead here. Now there will get to be a little bit more form on this unit once we embellish this unit. So what we're going to do, just back off a little bit, is we're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead, a crystal, and an 11-0 seed bead. And we're just going to go into the opposite bead on the right side. We're exiting this 8-0 on the right side. We're going to go into this 8-0 on the right side. Just like this. And just hold on to your unit and pull these down. Push them over the top of the unit. And then just gather your unit back together with a little tug, like this. Then pick up an 11-0, go through the crystal, and just the crystal, just like this. Hold on to your unit, pull your thread through, give a little tug, and then pick up another 11-0. Go into the opposite side of the 8-0 we started in, just like this.
Sides antonyms are rear and top.
Alexa, stop! I don't know why she started talking, but sometimes my tutorials trigger her. So now we have come through the 11-0 into the 8-0, and we're just going to sew down into this 11-0, crystal 11-0, until we get to the 8-0 on the bottom. Now we can lift this all up, arrange it, and then as we sew down into this one, it should tighten everything up for us. Just like that. See how that draws everything together? So this is what your unit should look like. Just like this. And then we'll make another unit like this one. And then we'll just alternate units. So let's go ahead and make another one like this one on the video. And then we can go to length off video. So let's go ahead and make one more of these units. So to start your bicone unit, you need an 11-0, a 15-0, a bicone, a 15-0, an 11-0, and an 8-0. Then we'll repeat. We will pick up an 11-0, a 15-0, a bicone crystal, a 15-0, and an 11-0. So this is what you should have. Get your clothes. 11-0, 15-0, bicone crystal, 15-0, 11-0, 8-0, 11-0, and I have two 11-0. Nope, 15-0. Okay, let's do that again. So you'll have an 11-0, 15-0, bicone crystal, 15-0, 11-0, 8-0, 11-0, 15-0, bicone crystal, 15-0, and 11-0. Just like that. Drop this down and go into the opposite side of the 8-0 you're coming out of, right here. Now sew back through this entire unit. So just go through all the beads. When I come to the bottom, I like to go through the 15-0 and 11-0, and then the 8-0 by itself. Just kind of makes my unit a little bit more of the shape I want. And then I go into the rest of the beads on this side. hold on to it, and back into my 8/0. And now we can embellish the top of this. So we're going to pick up an 11/0, a bicone crystal, and an 11/0, and we'll go into the same side we're exiting on the opposite 8/0. So we're exiting the right side, we're going to go into the right side right here. Just like this. Excuse me. And we're going to pull that on top and then pick up an 11/0, go into the crystal, exit the crystal, and pull. And then pick up an 11/0 and go into the opposite side of the 8/0 we started in. Pull that down, make sure everything's nice and secure, and then we'll sew back through our unit. So we'll go through the 11/0, the 15/0, and the bicone. Pull through, and then into the 15/0, 11/0, and exit the 8/0 right here. Then we can again begin our units of the round crystals. So just back up the video if you need to and watch how to do the round unit, and then of course you can watch how to do this unit again, and you can do that as many times as you need to as you work down the bracelet, as the stitches do not change. The only thing that changes is that we alternate units. Continue doing that until you have 15 units in total. So I'm counting both the round units and the bicone units. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And I have 15. Make sure you end on a round unit so that we can put our clasping on it and it will be symmetrical because we started on a round unit. So if you have a much larger wrist, this is about 6.5 inches already. So I'm going to have about a 7.25 inch bracelet. If you want to make a larger bracelet, then make another unit of bicones and rounds. So you'll have 17 units in total. If you have a very small wrist, then make a unit less of round and bicone, just making sure you end on a round unit. And you will make 13 units. So also, since we're going to connect a jump ring, you can also put more jump rings and just make an extender too, if you would like. So what we're going to do now is we're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead on this last round unit here, and we're going to pick up an 11/0 and a crystal and an 8/0. Now my crystals are supposed to be 4mm round, but they look a little bit more rondelle-ish. So you could use a 4x3.5 crystal just fine in this, rondelle crystal in this. And if you use a smaller rondelle, of course, you're going to have to make more units. So what I have on here now is my 11/0, my crystal, and my 8/0. I'm going to go through my jump ring. I am using an 8mm round closed jump ring. If you have an open jump ring, you can use it. Just make sure it's a heavier gauge, like a 18 gauge, nice 20 gauge, stainless steel, strong jump ring, and close it tightly. You can also put a wire guardian on here, however, and then put your jump ring on it, open and put on, however, that's going to make your length a little longer. So now that I've come through my jump ring, I'm going to go through my 8/0 and I'm going to go through the rondelle, or the round, whatever it's supposed to be. And then I'm just going to pull my thread down, and I'm going to pick up another 11/0 seed bead and go into the opposite side of the 8/0 I started in, right here, and pull. Now again, I'm just going to sew through this entire unit, making sure that I go up through this 11/0, through the 8/0, the crystal and the 8/0, and then through my jump ring. And then back down and into the opposite side. Do that one more time. We'll come back and tie off the bracelet and see what it looks like. Okay, so now I have secured my jump ring ending here, and I am coming out of the 8/0 seed bead that I started in, and I'm just going to turn my bracelet over, and I'm going to sew through this 11/0 and crystal here, and then through this 11/0 and 8/0 here. And right between this 8/0 and this 11/0, I'm going to find the thread bridge between them and go under it. So right here. And then I'm just going to make a loop carefully, go through that loop, and draw my knot down between the beads, just like that. And then I'm going to sew through this 11/0, 15/0, crystal, and 15/0. Now you don't want to distort your unit, so do it slowly and carefully. Go back through the 11/0 and the 8/0 here, and then let's tie another knot here between this 8/0 and 11/0. And you can tie wherever you want. You don't have to do it where I'm doing it, but this just seems to be how I want to do it, so draw that down carefully between your beads, and then I'm just going to go down into this unit, into the 11/0 and the 4mm round. We'll go into the 4mm round and the 8/0 here, and you can sew down into more, tie off more, do whatever you like, but I'm just going to cut mine off there. And this is what I have. And I think it turns out really, really pretty. I'm going to put it on my wrist and I'll show it to you, and we'll be back. And this is what it looks like on the wrist. Let me show you the clasping. It's quite comfortable. Doesn't seem to flip. Stays okay. And let me get you close so you can see it a little better. And I think that turned out really pretty. This would be an excellent holiday bracelet if you did it in red and green, or gold and red, or gold and green, whatever. Holiday colors. It would be really, really pretty for a holiday type of bracelet. I hope you like it.